Handful of Dust is my most recent obituary. It's the most recent short work that's part of a series of installations and single channel works that are ways for me to figure out how to reinterpret a kind of textual biographical form into moving image. So the form has shifted with each work. It's changed a bit since I began it, but I think right now my greatest concern is how can you create a work that somehow frees the subject from the image in which they were originally placed, or the history in which they were originally placed. So how can you write a story for the present and for the future that works with the material of the past, even if it's the most recent past? And then how can you give a subject a kind of agency that maybe they weren't allowed by other media forms, as much as that's possible, really, within something like cinema. So I use material from a 1950s film that was shot downwind of the area in the US where most of the above-ground nuclear testing was done. And I take that film and I went back to the desert and I made a series of cyanotypes with the original, or with digital versions of that negative. So there's a series then of animations that come from the original material. And I used Prussian blue is the result of a kind of, if you mix chemicals together and you create a kind of, it's not true emulsion, but it stays on top of the paper. Actually, edit that out. Wait, let me rethink how to say this. So I made a series of cyanotypes that result in a color, Prussian blue, that's also what is taken or can be taken if you've been exposed to radiation. So it's an attempt to use this material to both create an image, but to also create a kind of antidote, which, as much as documentary can be an antidote, right? But it's like how do you relieve a kind of cultural amnesia of a history that happened that really has affected everyone, because everyone is really a downwinder, not just the people in this film. Most of the people, or a majority of the people in the cast and crew, like a majority of the residents in the surrounding area, the rates of cancer and disease were extremely high. And the government never officially, the American government never really officially recognized the deaths of all the people or the rates of disease, which can't really be proven. It can't be traced back. Cancer can't, as I understand it, can't be traced back exactly to exposure from radiation. So they were able to, by refusing to acknowledge what they did, so many people, I mean, the rates of cancer are very high worldwide, especially after the period of nuclear testing began. So in this particular area, people came to participate in a film for a very brief period of time. The rates of cancer were very high, based solely on their exposure, perhaps, during that period of time, which suggests that everyone else who was there for a longer period of time deserves more attention than just those actors. So people have known about this film and the history, but I really wanted to take the situation away from the film and give it back to the people, and back to the land, and back to the animals that were exposed, and the soil that still has plutonium residue, where I made the cyanotypes.